What is up, the measly crew, and welcome back to your favorite One Piece Virgin Eggheads Book Club podcast. It very well might be the only one you listen to. We are covering volume 38 of One Piece today, chapters 358 to 367. I am your captain of the measly crew, Simeon Mumkey D. Jimmy Jones. Joined as always by my vice captain, Vasco Shot.
That's right, it's myself, the one you love to love, Mr. T-Bone. But I ain't as lean and bony, but, you know...
If only all Marines could be as selfless as T-Bone. Truly one of my favorites already. What was it? Like somebody had like a minor injury, so he rips up his own coat to patch it up? What a great guy. Much better than the dude who's very tall and standing behind Sanji. Very freakish characters appear on the Seatrain.
When it comes to the way we run this ship, I'm definitely, I was really going for more that it's just really ugly and everybody's, oh my god, that guy's so ugly. But, you know, I also like to run the ship in that selfless kind of way. Some people, they say, oh, if your captain is a little too humble, then, you know, maybe that makes you feel like you're not as strong, he's not vicious. But I feel like we are a sum of our parts in this measly crew. And I want
maybe it says something about my character, but I don't think I ever observed that T-Bone is meant to be ugly. I only saw the inner beauty of his character, Aggie. Is this character meant to be hideous? I thought he was just an old man.
I thought it was mentioned. I feel like they mentioned something about that his appearance. I mean, he looks maybe what some might consider a little ghoulish, perhaps.
That's, I mean, think about my waifus. I mean, that's what I'm into, is these freakish gothic people. So maybe he's not so ugly to me. He's got that Elvira charm.
Yeah, I was feeling like maybe Diablo. Van Helsing was a game that is an action RPG that I used to play many years ago, but it's got a bit of that Western vampire combination charm. This is more like pirate vampire, but I'm sure he's not meant to be taken vampirically. I'm just saying, it's, you know, things line up.
Aggie, I doubt our top of mind was Captain T-Bone. So Aggie, what is your top of mind this volume? Do you have any theories on who this suspicious new man appearing at the very end might be? This what do you say his name is? Sniper King or something?
Yeah, well, it reminds me of, why do I feel like I mentioned this last week? I don't know why. I don't know if I would have had any reason to, but one of my favorite series of all time, Welcome to the NHK. I think I might have mentioned it because the senpai noticed me and replied to my comments. But anyway, there's a character in that who is a bit of feels a bit inferior. He feels insecure. He's not getting some things that he wants in life. Feels like he's not enough. And by donning a special mask, it helps him become more than what he was. It kind of helps him unleash what's inside. So perhaps this Sniper King, all I'm saying is, I could believe it's any number of people, but just the fact that, you know, there's this guy I know, Usopp, he's trapped on this train. Right. He kind of deals in stars coming out of his slingshot. That's kind of his thing that he does. Maybe you could call him a sniper. And this man appeared Usopp-like in nature. So I felt that this was probably Usopp, really just being able to put on the mask. Nobody cared who he was until he put on the mask. And now he's
it's like when you're on the internet and you're anonymous, you can really put out your true feelings and opinions out there. Maybe this is Usopp's version of his online alias. This is his Mumkey Jones. This is his Eggman Rodriguez. He could be his truest self without the Usopp fears holding him back. Do we think he's gonna have any opinions that Usopp is too afraid to share about certain ethnicities and religions that become races?
All I'm saying is the Seatrain would run a lot better on coal. I don't know what you hippies, you liberals, I don't know what the problem is. It's just good engineering.
I don't care that the Seatrain's taking people to their death. At least the trains were running on time.
All I'm saying is they probably have a really good reason to take us here. I can't say that they're wrong or right.
Hey,
I wasn't there.
They were so efficient that the train actually left early. Like, that's a major plot point.
That's literally true. So all things considered, I feel like, this is sort of it felt a bit of a linear chapter. We start off, which is interesting at the beginning of the volume, sort of wrapping up a bit of the Cuddy Flam lore, sort of how the android cyborg transformation came about. But, this is just me. This has been a running theme throughout this entire podcast. I have a gamer mindset. I might not be the most skilled gamer, but I have a gamer mindset. And what do I think when we incorporate this plot point around the Seatrain and the way that this train is chambered with its cars? There is sort of
literally levels in a video game. Yeah.
Escalating power structure. It gives me a bit of a dungeon type of feeling. Like we're starting at the back of the train.
We're gonna fight Mother in level 6 if we ever make it that far.
Right. And, this channel's due for a live stream too. Maybe we could, do a gaming stream with some.
I've got the One Piece Odyssey game for PS4, and I have specifically not played it for almost 2 years because I want to play it a virgin playthrough on stream. Just been too lazy to do it, but once you're caught up to all the characters in that game, maybe we should do it together.
Yeah, I do also. I think I'm not going to spoil any environments or arc titles. I was gifted from Fishman, who he might be a member of this channel. In any case, a good guy who I've known for a while. He gifted me One Piece World Seeker, which I think might be a little bit of a higher requirement game, but maybe one time we could do something about that in my place. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird, like, because we didn't get so much of the Seatrain combat to where it should be like a big point for me, but just with everything else that's going on, it's a very tense volume here. It's very fast-paced with a lot of trying to make the train. We have people, we have secrets unveiled, certain directives and beliefs and ideas that are brought to our attention that we didn't know before. And then we have the Seatrain as this thing where the crew's being split up. But I felt like, to me, as soon as the structure of this Seatrain was really explained to me, that is something I kind of held at the top of my mind, even though that we didn't get so much of what I expect the depth of this combat is going to be in the next volume. Just the fact that this was really brought to our attention this volume, and kind of once it was there, it was ding, 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 kind of ringing just like the conductor bell or the horn or however trains work.
Well, Eggy, if you're excited for combat on the Seatrain, next volume I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just saying you might get what you're hoping for.
Just saying they explain these, if they went through to explain the structure and the power levels kind of increasing throughout the trains as we get to the top, and then they just end up like using some sort of contraption to swing up to the front of it without going through any of the train cars, I probably would be a little disappointed. So I'm hoping that the fact that they went out of their way to explain all of that means something.
What is your expectation of this grouping of Sanji, Frankie, and Usopp on the Seatrain together, and they have to go through all these compartments to get to Nico Robin, I assume, who's being guarded by CP9. How far do you think just those three fighters can make it? Because we've already seen CP9 obliterate Luffy and Zoro. So are they fighting towards certain death? Like, is their best hope that the Rocket Man catches up to them and that everybody can fight?
Yeah, I would like to say that they're going to be able to have enough of an awakening with their power that, they're going to be able to handle their own business. Maybe the Sniper King is going to be able to just bring a whole new level. And, I mean, to be honest, I don't know if I would bet on this to be where this is going, but if Usopp is going to continue to be a part of the crew, I was sort of contemplating different ways that this could go for a while now. Always going to study this thing and his benefit for learning more shipwright stuff. That's going to be how he's going to level up. I'm trying to figure out how he's going to just increase his own strength or his own ability to get on to a similar power level to where the rest of the Straw Hat crew has been at, to help alleviate some of his insecurity, feelings of inferiority, and also just to be a better part of the crew, because, I mean, hey, it is what it is. I mean, he hasn't had that combat ability, so maybe his Sniper King awakening here is going to help bring his power level up to where it needs to be keeping pace with everybody else. Maybe we're going to examine a great deal of his strength in the next volume, and maybe he's going to have such a power up that he's not going to need to necessarily be saved by any of his compatriots, or to have Sanji and Frankie there with him, and then them coming into with Nico Robin also. I mean, I feel like I'd like the Rocket Man to, be up there with him. I'd like to have them all experiencing this epic moment together, but maybe he needs a little room to shine right now, Mr. Sniper King.
Do you think Usopp needs to be very physically powerful to have a spot on the crew that he deserves? When we were being obliterated by Aokiji and Robin is frozen solid, Usopp can't fight Aokiji, but he saves Robin's life with a moment of bravery and quick running because he's great at running away from things. Can't his lack of strength be made up for in other ways, perhaps? I think throughout all the adventures, even in the arcs when he does not have a 1v1 fight, he still contributes in a way that is crucial to saving the day.
I do agree, and that's kind of where my mind has been at preceding, not even just this volume, but really preceding the reveal at the end of the volume. But just like anything, you could really train in certain areas and it'd be like a glass cannon kind of guy. If he doesn't have enough base combat ability, I think so he doesn't even need to necessarily be so brute force. He could maintain a specialized aspect. He could maintain certain tactics, trickery, a little bit of, so much utility with his ranged and also inventive nature. I feel like that's all good and well, but still to just have enough endurance to maintain, enough stamina, enough...
He has more endurance and stamina than Kuina. She died from the stairs. This dude got hit by a hammer that shattered every bone in his face. I mean, we covered that for sure, so he at least has some sort of endurance or super healing ability.
And I feel like that's just been, he's been tracking in that way. But we've seen, for instance, here with the Galila shipwrights, aka CP9, and just their incredible strength that was so great that it was even more powerful than what our strongest members of the Straw Hat crew could handle. I just feel like things are going to keep scaling. He's shown a lot of that, but he's going to need, especially considering the plot point of this story, that he's feeling inferior. We could see a marked increase in some of those base power areas, and then, you utilize the enhanced utility, maybe a little bit of the dial action, some new stars, maybe just a little more accuracy. Maybe he's getting inventive with the shots. They're inside of an enclosed structure. Maybe he's going to ping something off the wall. It's going to do some crazy stuff, just like Happy Gilmore.
Here's a fun question. Let's say the Rocket Man catches up and everybody meets Sniper King. Do you have any guesses on who believes this is a new person that they've never met before? Is anybody going to fall for this?
Well, since you mentioned it just now, I would have to expect that Luffy would immediately not recognize Sniper King and would expect...
My thought goes straight to Chopper because he falls for every single Usopp lie, but Luffy's probably a close second.
I could just see Luffy like the Rocket Man. I don't know if it's going to be a collision or if they're just going to happen to, perfectly match and connect.
Well, is CP9 in the caboose of this? Because Rocket Man might just drill straight into him and obliterate Rob Lucci, knock his leopard ass into the water. That'd be nice.
I believe it was the power levels were increasing towards the front.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Sanji came in through the back. Son of a bitch. Well, there goes that dream.
Speaking of transportation, though, I feel like this is not particularly relevant, but I thought I should mention it. From the chapter 359 SBS, Oda comes to say that Water 7 is in fact based on the city of Venice, Italy. Because I guess they have a similar high tide, which that's what I didn't know, but what I always had suspected from the beginning of Water 7 is they have these bulls they ride, and it was like, oh, I'm thinking of the water taxis in Venice, and he doesn't confirm that, but I'm guessing that these bulls are based a Water 7 version of the gondola, or I guess they have other water taxis called Vaporetti water buses.
So it was Venice and not the fictional country of Flevens that I said last time. Makes more sense that it would be a real place. Should we do my top of mind, Eggy?
I would love to hear it, yes.
Mine's
From
pretty
the
simple.
veteran.
I think the main takeaway from this volume is a piece of Nami's dialogue that is then proven, shown to us. Iceberg reveals to Nami, hey, Nico Robin did it all for you. She didn't betray you. She's sacrificing the entire globe just to save you, 7 motherfuckers, or whatever, 6. And Nami says, she's all excited. Oh, now you say, this starts now. Now that we know she needs to be saved, our strength will be infinite. And what I like about that is then it's proven when Luffy is trapped between the 2 buildings, as soon as Nami relays the information out, Robin needs to be saved, she's on our side, Luffy's strength becomes infinite. He can bust those fucking buildings down as soon as he has that motivation and knows the truth. And isn't that so true? When you have that doubt in your mind of this person's treating me horribly and there's no reason for it, why would I put in my full passion to protect and help them? Now that they know the truth, of course, they're going to be strength increased tenfold. It makes sense to me on a spiritual, emotional, logical, and storytelling level, and it's beautiful.
It's funny because I actually have a scientific fact check for this sort of exact situation. So last week I was, I remember sending to the group chat that I was watching some Business Insider video that it had come up about the weightlifting records. Are they going to be broken? And the guy who currently holds some of the greatest weightlifting records of the modern age, this guy's crazy. I saw he was doing these lifts so strong that he just starts spraying blood from his face because the pressure's so much. He goes into a sort of a hypnosis that he puts himself in. He imagines that what he's lifting is saving his children. When he's lifting a car up over his head or whatever crazy stuff he does, he imagines that he's saving his family, and it puts him into a trance. He says that he basically blacks out into this trance he taps into this sort of adrenaline, and then went on in this video about the scientific proof behind that people in extreme duress will be able to tap into this adrenaline that brings them to a whole other state of power that is not seemingly achievable without this neurological component of duress. So,
and do we think this will be the power boost needed for the whole crew to be able to fight against CP9 to save Robin?
I think so. It really was also very relieving for myself as a viewer, because going, from where we were just at, this betrayal, we're not getting really, not any explanation, but we're not even really getting an inclination here. She just kind of, I think maybe 2 volumes ago, the end of volume 36, I think, when they were all in the room there with Iceberg, and she had just been speaking with him, and she kind of had a shocked expression. I think that's all we had for about 1 3/4 volumes to have any inclination that this wasn't Robin's grand scheme, that she was really in favor of. Oh yeah, I've been tapped in with CP9, or I've been tapped in with some other shadow organization that Straw Hats don't know about for my own benefit. This is where we get that breath that we can take, that sigh of relief, that okay, she has really been locked in with the Straw Hat crew. Sure, this could still be another misdirection from Iceberg, but I don't think, with everything we have laid in front of us now, that is going to be the case.
When a man is introduced and he becomes friends with a mouse and names it Tyrannosaurus, there's no way that man is a ill character. I mean, why would Oda introduce that and then make him evil? How cruel.
Speaking of relief, yeah, I think around the time that he's explaining that to Nami, Tyrannosaurus is squeaking out of his pocket. So
yes, he's alive. He survived the fire. That was my top of mind. We do have a new member of the Measly Crew that you can join by becoming a member of the YouTube channel Mumkey D. Jones for $3 a month. You get the episodes 15 days early, plus you can join the exclusive crew-only Discord where we talk about the new chapters, the old chapters. Eggy's in the Virgin chat only. Don't spoil shit for him. Don't tell him that Gunko and Shamrock landed on a giant branch. He doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to hear it. Our new member. The
Shamrock I know is the Shamrock Shake from McDonald's.
Delicious.
By the way, fresh review on the Egg White channel. All right, continue.
Our new member is named Salad Eggy. What should Salad do on the crew?
Well, I'm thinking a botanist. A botanist with culinary instincts. that I would imagine in the same way that I can grow parsley in my windowsill, oregano, and these small herbs, that probably we could have, Nami, we see in the material here on the Marigo, she had her orange trees that were able to stay alive on the ship.
Tangerines, Aggie, for fuck's sake. You're about to get ass blasted. This is worse than when we forgot Shamu's name. Laboon, people.
Laboon?
I remembered Laboon this time. That is my greatest shame on this podcast. Not the 80 times my voice squeaked really high like a girl. No, it was forgetting Laboon's name. My single biggest shame in One Piece history. Not when I said I would staple my ball sack to the wall if Shanks and Luffy do not reunite by a certain number that has long since passed. Oops.
All I'm saying is if you just brought that up, there must be a reason for it. Listen, you know what? No shame around here. Sometimes a man, needs certain things. Anyway, so a salad, you are going to be our herbal curator. You're going to be tasked with treating these little windowsill or ship side herbal plants, getting them dried, treated, and put together. Because listen, measly crew people, we do be seasoning our food. Okay, that's right. We need it. All right, thank you.
So we don't want like a salad to eat as a side. We just want things to put on our meat to make it more delicious.
That's right.
Okay. We got some strange comments today, okay? Because it's not really a comment. One of these is a tweet that was not even directed at us, but I'm going to bring it all in. Because, Aggie, I've been fighting a war behind the scenes for the soul of Heartsy Protsy's One Piece fandom. Because, obviously, I'm telling him, if you're going to go through this, you got to read the manga. That's the essence of the story. You're not going to get any of the bullshit that the anime, all the baggage that comes with it. But his lifelong best friend IRL is a fucking loser. Okay, this is the story of manga chads versus anime-only virgins. And Heartsy's friend is an anime-only virgin. He's trying to make Heartsy watch the anime. He's directly telling him that the manga is the wrong way to experience the story. Like, the most insane, brain-dead, you are literally one arc behind takes I've ever heard in my life. Here is a comment we got on, I think, what is this, volume 8 or 9? It's the Nami Needs Help volume from Arlong Park.
Sure.
And Heartsy Protsy commented on our podcast. He says, this set of chapters were the first to make me cry. Others came close, but this one got me. Nami full-on sobbing after failing to stop the town people from fighting, and Luffy taking off his hat that means so much to him and placing it on her head before jumping in to help with such powerful imagery. Damn amazing. Okay, so, hey, not only is he reading the manga, he's listening to our podcast along with it. I mean, I think that's the ideal way to experience One Piece. You know, the combination of Oda's brilliance and, of course, Aggie's genius takes. There's no better combination. But then, here's a tweet that Heartsy posted literally 28 minutes ago. So right before we started podcasting, he says, watching One Piece episode after reading the corresponding chapters only to watch 5 minutes of recap, 5 minutes of extended reaction shots, 10 minutes of actual plot that took just 5 minutes to read. Yeah, I'm glad I'm reading this shit instead.
Oh my goodness, mic drop. Oh my goodness, anime viewers.
Anime-only retards blown the fuck out. And that's why I have so much vitriol for the other One Piece Virgin podcast, because that woman, Poseidon, is doing it through the anime. These people are brain dead, Aggie. They hate reading so much that they would rather spend 10 times more of their life getting through a story and getting through filler and recaps and reaction shots. Because they hate reading, Aggie. The thought of reading words in a comic book is too much for Heartsy's friend who's in his early 20s. I guarantee you, I would bet anything I own, Heartsy's friend has never read a book for pleasure in his life. And if that can be said for anybody, I recommend either read a book or learn to tie a noose. Because you don't belong on the same planet as me. You're not human. If you can't read for pleasure, you're not fucking human. You're an animal.
Well, and I have to say this much too. First off, I mean, that is absolutely gold standard critique by Heartseer, because it is so true. I hadn't watched the anime really. Well, I mean, I obviously never watched any of it my entire life, but I did after reading to a degree. I might have read a little bit less than Arlong Park before I was trying to watch a couple of the corresponding episodes, and it's very true. It's just a few panels ends up being a few minutes, basically. They have to do what they have to do to make a show, and it's fine. It's a lot of times they are adapting almost direct panels into the storyboard. So, like, you want a faithful adaptation, and other than the filler, that is what you will get from here. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say that that's bad, how bad it is it could be, but you're definitely getting...
The worst part of it is, when they want to put in filler to waste time, they don't come up with new ideas. So, like, if a character has ever had a running joke, it gets drilled into the ground every single episode. And people who are anime only think that Oda is a bad writer because he repeats the same jokes over and over. No. Some of these jokes appear once, twice in the manga, and then they'll throw it in 500 times because every character whoever's writing these scripts, every character is just one element to their personality that, oh, okay, Sanji's gonna say something about cooking. No, these people have more depth than that, you motherfuckers writing the anime filler. I hope you all get cancer.
Well, and I just want to say one other thing too. We're talking about reading a manga here, so I mean, this is, as far as how much text you're reading, I like to, I'll really digest each panel because I like to maybe put some music in my mind to maybe a scene. I really like to just really paint the full illustration in my mind of what I'm seeing in each panel. So you might read it a little faster, you might read it a little more slowly, but at the end of the day, the amount of actual text that one needs to consume in these mangas is nothing compared to what you would have to be reading through like a full novel.
I think maybe some Rob Lucci pages might match an actual book. He has a lot to say, but otherwise you're correct.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is, if you have trouble reading a manga, then
it's too late for you.
It's really bad. And you should figure that out. There's probably nowadays, back in my day, they had pickup artist boot camps where guys with big furry hats would tell you how to get girlfriends. Nowadays, for young people, they probably have like attention span boot camps where they take away your phone and make you actually learn something. Whatever you got to do, I would recommend getting your brain back on track, because if you're running out of steam at like 20 years old, I mean, take it from somebody with a lot of brain damage in his 30s, it's not where you want to be.
I've seen a lot of footage of Zoomers reacting to getting their technology taken away in school, and usually the 20-year-old white teacher's getting her ass pummeled into the ground and her face curb stomped in. So I don't know about taking away their phones. Just let them watch their TikToks and watch the recap of what they've already seen. Speaking of which, let's recap what they've already read with a brand new cover story, Aggie. What's going on here?
Well, I had to say that, this was not, excuse me, Miss Golden Week's return was not something that I was anticipating, and even more so, the direction, how would I put this? Just right off the bat with this cover story, I mean, she's there, chilling out on a little garden, we love it. She's getting the newspaper from Homeboy Pelican, and we see our great friends, the Baroque Works. Frankly, I thought they probably should have killed Crocodile, but he's front and center along with many other of the Baroque Works members, everybody that was fought in Alabasta, basically. They are all in prison. That's the very least they deserve.
Well, and the title of this cover story is Miss Golden Week's Big Plan, a Baroque Reunion. So even though she's never met these people face to face and didn't even know what they looked like until now, she feels some sort of kinship to them and wants to reunite with all of them for some reason. Does she have higher aspirations? Like, this is like a little kid who has magic paint that could change people's emotions. Why does she want to hook up with, like, Crocodile?
I mean, his mugshot is very swaggy, I'm not gonna lie. Like, he's just kind of looking off, like, unconcerned while smoking a cigar. So maybe he's looking pretty Chadley. We have our good friend, the dog gun, whose name I
Lasso.
Yeah,
I remember his name more than Shamu.
They sound similar. Drooling and there's like ooze coming out of his nose. He's looking like he's probably mentally deficient.
He is a gun that ate a dog fruit, so I don't know if a gun's gonna have a lot of brain power.
Mr. Bon Clay, he's trying to look like the Joker TikTok where you go, like the beatboxing Joker. He's kind of got a face looking out. So I mean, it's probably interesting enough, that if you're working with these people, but what's so wrong with Little Garden? I mean, it's chill. You have your good friends, Dory and Broggy over there. They're doing their thing.
Mr. Five and Miss Valentine are still there.
Right. So, but for whatever reason, maybe it's a grass is greener mentality. She just decides she wants the reunion going to the prison. I have to imagine that there's going to be some kind of prison break that is going to need to happen. I don't know if they have visiting hours for Mr. Crocodile. He should probably be under the prison.
Do you think these three can handle that? Do these three have the capabilities to free all these people from prison?
Well, I think Miss Golden Week, I think she's got an angle to work that would not typically be expected because her coloring could produce a sort of a hypnotic effect or like a controlling effect. We've seen someone before well, I'm not good with names today. How can I forget? Oh, Django, yeah, obviously. We've seen Django, I mean,
it's early in the morning, folks, okay? Weekend Warrior makes us wake up at fucking 9 a.m. to record podcasts because he lives in the Philippines. It is what it is. Give us a break. If I can't remember Laboon's name one time.
And obviously, I was just watching another Western, so Django just seemed a little bit too repetitive. But let me take another big swig, Kevin. Right. Django, his appearance is immediately perturbed when you see him. He behaves strangely. He's a little too funky for the average pirate. So you think something's going to come up with him when he starts hypnotizing you. You're going to have maybe a little bit more of a defensive posture. Miss Golden Week is somebody who is not going to trigger any of these defenses. She might even trigger more of like an empathetic reaction, like, oh, look at this, sweet little girl. What does she need? Let me help her out. I'm going to try to help her. So I think that visage combined with her abilities is going to be greater for her to be able to be successful in this. But just the idea that she could be at all successful in freeing any of the Baroque Works members, I mean, we've put some distance between Alabasta and where we are now, Water 7. But these are still very concerning individuals that I would really rather have them be staying locked up for, even compared to Buggy or anybody else. Like, I'm a little bit, maybe we want to keep them in there for at least another year or so. Mm-hmm. I don't want them out too soon.
Well, maybe this prison break won't be successful. Maybe they won't even make it that far because Miss Golden Week uses the color trap on a pterodactyl to fly them off the island. But last we see them, there's a horrible rainstorm, and I think the rain might be washing off the paint. So these devil fruit users, Mr. Five and Miss Valentine, might immediately drown. I don't think Golden Week has a devil fruit, though, so hopefully she could float.
Yeah, and maybe they'll get very.
She can paint the fish, and it'll swim her somewhere.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe they'd just get so fortunate to land on a vessel or maybe another bit of land or something.
Land in the volcano that keeps erupting.
Yeah, something that comes to mind to me about how this went down, though, is really Crocodile was essentially bested by water also. So I guess maybe the Baroque Works, they need to come up with some sort of anti-wash away strategy. Water's wiping away the mind control. It's wiping away the sand fruit abilities. Maybe they should invest in plastic. I don't know if that probably didn't exist yet, but they just coat themselves in something like a poncho.
Well, I think it's time for us to go through the volume chronologically now. And as you were saying, we have to conclude the Frankie flashback. And did they name him Frankie too early? because if Frankenstein is where the name's coming from, like sort of building a man out of pieces. And we get in this opening chapter, Frankie has been destroyed by the train that was shipping off Tom to Auschwitz. And he just so happens to get lucky and have an empty ship come by that's full of parts he can use to rebuild himself into a cyborg. Like I'm saying, was he named Frankie too early? Because now he's a Frankie. Now he's a Frankenstein, right?
I mean, I guess a little bit of a double entendre because he's kind of like...
he's very frank.
I have an idea, but I have an idea of how he should sound. Once again, this is maybe something where the anime might, fill in a piece for somebody, but he kind of gives me like a, hey, how you doing? He's kind of
like a Joey Wheeler in the American Yu-Gi-Oh! Like Brooklyn accent.
I could definitely see it. So even without considering his cyborg nature, that's kind of where I felt. Before you just mentioned Frankie Frankenstein, I didn't even ever think of that. I was thinking of him as, hey, how you doing? Kind of Frankie. I'm going to chalk it up to that is bombastic, sort of take no crap sort of way of living, does what he wants. He just kind of feels Frankie to me. And then obviously, after getting brutally devastated by the Puffin Tom, then he becomes Frankenstein-y as well.
Frankie comes back and finds out that Iceberg is accepting contracts from the very government that killed Tom, and he's disgusted, and frankly I am too. Personally, if the Nazis carried off my mentor, I don't know if I would be working for them, but that's how you end up at the Nuremberg trials, I guess. And Tom says, and this is an important quote that I think a lot of One Piece fans, they need to look at this quote specifically because a lot of events kind of get confusing and convoluted in the brain. Okay, listen up. As long as we're in danger of that Nico Robin woman reactivating the existing weapon, then those blueprints must exist in this world, at the very least as an opposing force. So the idea is, the ship, the Pluton, already exists. There already is one, and these blueprints are just there so that they can build a second one to fight the first one. I know I might be explaining something that's very obvious, but I've seen a lot of confusion in my time online about what this arc is even about and what everybody was pursuing. So Pluton already exists somewhere. That's why Crocodile was searching for it, rather than searching for blueprints, as I brought up last week. So this is all clear, Aggie. This makes sense.
Yes. It's good that you mentioned that because, I guess taking it back to Alabasta, I could have supposed that he could have been referring to the blueprints, but that Crocodile could have been referring to blueprints because if there's a weapon, there could be any number of parts, any number of prerequisites for it to be activated. So the fact that it's been demonstrated as existent and then that they could have another one, that it's good exposition to have that all explained. Yes, absolutely.
So the flashback ends, and Lucci decides if Frankie's not going to tell us where the blueprints are, I guess we'll take him to Enies Lobby with us. He's a criminal, and I guess we'll torture the information out of him or something bad. And Usopp has a moment that had me guffaw, laugh out loud. He's trying to be all brave, like, oh, wait up, people, let him go. Lucci gives him one glare, and Usopp respectfully bows and says, my apologies. Hysterically funny. And he gets taken as well. And, I don't know if any tears were shed, Aggie, but I believe there's a funeral necessary for a certain ship that may have been let go out into a horrible storm, Aggie.
It was,
Mary, my lady of pain, eyes alone, blind you search for the truth. I see myself in you. That's my funeral song for Mary. It's Sweet Sister Mary from Queen Strike.
That's good singing. What did not look good was the Mary's condition after being dropped down so far. into the roaring tide, the roaring, churning waters. It looked, I mean, I don't know, because the damn ship fell out of the sky, and I guess, that wasn't, but I guess dropping, it's just like when I dropped my bowl from my table. I bet if I dropped my bowl out of my window and like threw it into the street or something, it wouldn't break. I dropped my nice thick ceramic bowl of pasta just from the table to my wood floor. Explodes. Doesn't make any sense.
But especially when the main antagonist of this volume is a giant wave that's the biggest, most destructive wave in history, you really think the Mary, in its condition, is surviving that kind of shit for the next full night of storming? I think that Kaku just killed Mary.
I mean, I would see something like, a big wave coming up against it, maybe making it collide with one of the structures or something and damaging it that way. I mean, I'm an optimistic guy. Everybody knows I'm always what you call white-pilled. I'm always, eyes bright and full of life and ready for, the next beautiful thing in the future. But speaking of somebody whose eyes are a little bit more obfuscated, I don't know if we mentioned here as concluding the Frankie flashback, they say, we didn't charge you back in the day because you were supposed to be dead. You're alive now, so now we're going to go ahead and take you to Enies Lobby, aka Auschwitz. But they have a little communication for him first from the quote-unquote director, and we get to see from last volume the awful man, Mr. Spandam, who compromised a bunch of Frankie's unused ships in order to attack the judicial boat. He is alive and maybe not so very well. He's looking a little freakish. Kind of reminds me, I think there was a wrestler back in the day called Kane who wore like a freakish kind of like almost bondage looking mask. And what we see here, Spandam, he might be a little goofy still, but he is looking even more freakish than homeboy T-Bone. And
Frankie left some long-term injuries to that man's head, and despite him being very physically weak, perhaps the Usopp of CP9, you could say, Spandam was somehow promoted from CP5 to the director of CP9, which I don't know why Rob Lucci's taking orders from this man, but he is. And he's been given permission from Aokiji to use a Buster Call attack on the Straw Hats, which is why Robin betrayed them to prevent the Buster Call from being inflicted upon them, which would almost certainly kill them, evidently. What do you recall from the Buster Call, Aggie?
It's basically almost like a gangbuster kind of situation, except like the Marines. Because were they saying, as I recall, and this is a little bit ahead in the story here, but like in Enies Lobby, there's like some access to like the Marine headquarters or something.
Yeah, so Enies Lobby is there's basically there's a triangle of locations that all like go straight to each other that are all controlled by the Marines. It's Enies Lobby, and then from Enies Lobby you can have direct path to one of two places, and they both spell your doom. You either go to the underwater prison Impel Down, or you go straight to Marine headquarters, where I assume you're fucked. So if they get Robin, if Robin and Frankie and all these people pass the gate to either of those places, it's going to be 1,000,000 times harder to save them.
Yeah, because, I mean, I know we, obviously we had Aokiji at Long Ring, Long Island, and we had the other ones explained to us. Otherwise, I think just one was like fiery and one was like a thunder. But that was just 3, and it looks like here 5 vice admirals from the Navy headquarters would arrive for a Buster Call. So, I mean, that's almost a 1v1 for each Straw Hat crew member with like the strongest military might in the entire world, plus also multiple warships.
10 warships.
Entire crews.
And so, they say the target of such a national war-class military force cannot survive. So Robin, to protect her crew from that fate, is putting the entire world at risk. Because she could evidently, according to Iceberg, awaken this weapon, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, I know we were talking a little bit earlier about, if Usopp is Sniper King, that he's getting a bump to his power level, but yeah, I think 1v1 with each Straw Hat crew member and the strongest Navy admirals, well, I guess they're vice admirals, so may not be strong.
They're just one step below.
Yeah. Basically, damn near the strongest military generals in the entire world, plus their entire crews and like 2 warships each for one single Straw Hat member. I don't think we are maybe quite, as of this volume at the least, having our power level scaled to that degree. So, I mean, we just got manhandled by just CP9, and these are just the grunts of underneath Spandam, who is by maybe underneath a vice admiral at the best case scenario. So if one of like their grunts can completely kill your entire crew, yeah, probably not wanting to be having too much of that coming at you.
Are you familiar with the concept of Chekhov's gun, Aggie?
Chekhov's gun?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Am I getting it wrong? That when the idea of if you introduce a gun at the beginning of your story, it better be used by the end, because otherwise, why would you introduce it?
Well, in these streets, they talk about, if you go and pull that thing, you better be ready to bust that thing. So maybe that's the street.
Speaking of busting that thing, do you think now that the concept of Buster Call has been introduced, do you think we're going to see that in the story someday?
Yes. I wouldn't be surprised. Kind of in the same way that the introduction of the Sea Prism Stone was like, all right, we don't need to have that be a crutch, but now it has been introduced. So when a particularly beneficial time for it comes up, we can go ahead and introduce that as a plot point. I'm not saying that Oda would necessarily need to rely on something in either one of these counts as a something to help move a story along that he couldn't do with his own brilliant writing, of course, but I definitely feel like, there was a reason to have it mentioned. They could have just said, oh, the Spandam is crazy, he'll do something to you. They didn't need to specify a Buster Call if they didn't want to have it introduced into the lexicon, I think.
We also get Chopper bursting out of the flaming mansion, and he has saved the lives of Polly and Iceberg. So it's a good thing he got trapped under that rubble last time, because it all paid off. And he also he had Zoro's sword in his mouth too. I thought that was nice. And go ahead, but the most important thing in the whole volume is about to happen.
Well, I was going to say how when I was mentioning, you were saying, what was it about? People being confused or possibly deceived by the Sniper King's disguise. Maybe it's who stopped saying how Chopper, he falls for stuff. I feel like, we definitely see Chopper bump his power level up here, saving everybody from the fire and kind of just being right on, ready to move on to the next step in the plan right after that. Didn't need any time to freak out, spaz out, have an anxiety panic attack.
And then when they have to dodge the giant wave, he does a super jump with Zoro in his hands. So even more Chopper feats here. But most important moment of the volume. Do you remember which character is depicted in the cover art for the SBS?
Oh yes, Sanji.
And Sanji, I believe, is doing an Elon Musk hand gesture.
Is he doing that for every single SBS?
Yes. So he remains my favorite side character of all time. So happy to see him again.
I'm out here on the ice. They can't cancel me out here, so I can do whatever I want.
Either way, Tubes.
And also the little the long bear. I feel like there's been a couple of maybe the chapters in this volume. I'm not going to look off the top of my head, but there's been this panel that gets drawn sometimes that appears to have like a sort of rough, very undetailed long bear kind of figure. I think it might be similar to a panda that was on some of designs that were
Panda Man. You finally noticed Panda Man?
Well, I know about him, but it's just like this sort of Ursine figure. It's with a low detail level. I haven't paid so much attention to the panels, but obviously you have a page that's all white and it'll have this little thing in the corner. So the long bear also being in the SBS. It's just it's a good feeling SBS. Shout out to the 5-year-old children that would be sending in their drawings of Nami or whatever back in other previous SBSs, but this one's good feeling.
Well, let's get into a bad feeling, because perhaps I'd say maybe the single most controversial dialogue in all of One Piece is in this volume, Maggie. Do you have any inkling? Because it's coming right up in terms of what we're chronologically discussing. We get a flashback to Chopper, Sanji, and Robin. Sanji says to Chopper, Aggie, and tell me if you agree with this. Sanji says word for word, Chopper, you better remember one thing. Real men can forgive the lies women tell. Now, Aggie, would you believe that incels online absolutely hate this dialogue?
I mean, it's something that I've really, fought with in my life for sure. I feel like there is a nuance to it because obviously you shouldn't just be setting yourself up to be gullible for that. But at the same time, I feel like it is. I feel like you do become a real man when you realize that. I mean, take this how you want to take it, but men and women are not the same. They have different ways of doing things. They have different needs. They have different lifestyles that one is always going to be different from the other, and that's a strong dose of a hard argument these days in 2025. But what you need to understand is that this is something I've said for probably about 13 years. Men are more inclined to fight with their fists, and women, they fight with their words, with their trickery, perhaps you might say. There's a scientific basis for it. Women have, their brains are wired differently to basically go for the cunning versus the brute sort of approach to things.
Ironic that men ended up being better at both.
So, there's been times before when women told me some very hurtful lies, but as the time went by and I was able to get over my own ego and my own pride about it, I could understand why certain things happened, and maybe it wasn't what it was. I couldn't have seen it at the time, but getting older and understanding these differences that sometimes people don't want to highlight anymore, I started to get it. So there's a nuance there. We can't be just a doormat, but sometimes things will happen. You have to understand why.
This is presented to us in the manga immediately after we find out the truth about Nico Robin being on the side of the Straw Hats. Would it hit different if it was shown to us when it actually happened, last volume, when they met up with Robin, while we still think she's evil and against us? Because, it's easy to flash back once we know the truth and be like, oh, look at Sanji, he's a genius to have believed in her. But what if you saw that scene last week? Would you feel different about it?
Just considering the fact that it was dialogue coming from Sanji, I think that in and of itself would have me approach it more differently versus if Zoro or something had said it, I would have been like, I don't know about that.
It's out of
Or
character.
even if Nami had said it, I would have been like, oh, everybody can just do what they want now, Nami. We all just have to be real men. We have to man up. But Sanji, he does have a unique touch to the feminine here. It's in his character. So even with that being the case, I would have at least contemplated and probably given some deeper thought to what he was saying and have tried to make sense of it, even if it didn't seem to make sense, just because of his character and him having that dialogue.
And I've been saying last week, but that's a mistake. As we recall, Sanji was not in the previous volume at all. And now he's kind of on his own super secret spy adventure this volume to make up for not showing up. And he's at the train station. He sees Robin and Usopp and Frankie being taken away. He has a big decision to make. Do I hop on the train to Auschwitz for a solo mission against hundreds of enemies? What do I do? And he leaves behind a note and a giant painting on a wall with an arrow pointing to the note. Any thoughts on all of that?
I did think that was pretty humorous. It's a good thing that, and we were just talking about how the Baroque works, people have had their misfortunes with water. It's a good thing that there wasn't any big waves splashing up over the notes. It all timed out pretty well there.
There's a moment when Sanji's wondering, why is Robin not fighting back? And he imagines that she's waiting for him to come save her. And then he's doubled over on the ground, laughing and coughing to himself. I thought that was very funny. There's a lot of humor to make up in this volume to make up for last time, I think. But what were
Yeah,
you saying?
well, you say like doubled over in humor. I think it seems to me like he's got like he's overwhelmed with like the romantic prospects. So I think he's just. I don't want to say that I think he loves all women equally, but yeah, I think he's just basically like just having a seizure of like, oh.
Well, yeah,
You know,
it's funny to me because
you know,
it's juxtaposed. He's like this awesome James Bond kind of like spy guy, and then like he gets overwhelmed by his imagination and is just like losing it on the floor. I thought that was pretty funny. Speaking of James Bond, I wanted to say Robin is giving me Ethan Hunt energy. I've been binging all the Mission Impossibles for the new one that's coming out, and multiple times in those movies, Ethan Hunt puts the entire globe at risk just to protect specifically his friends that are in his little group. So I think Mission Impossible is very much One Piece pilled.
And you have to see it from her perspective as somebody who's the veteran that she is in all the organizations that she's rubbed shoulders with. It's presented, and it is very true, and a complete and total risk to much life, but I feel like in her eyes, it's a calculated risk, and she's really pushing the odds together in her mind of what is the most likely outcome, and I think she's putting her money in on the Straw Hats to be able to resolve the situation before it would become anything too great. And I mean, even now in this volume, the command that they are trying to establish over Mother Nature itself, you know, the greatest Aqua Laguna of all time, more damaging than any Aqua Laguna in memory, just incredible power behind these waves. They're willing to get on the most rickety, unsafe vessel that exists, so it's really the only option, and willing to, have a real cool combo attack. Getting a little ahead of myself here chronologically, but Sanji and Luffy having a sort of a duo tag team attack versus the wave in order to get the power behind that attack that it needs in order to sort of dissipate the wave for their entrance through it on the train.
Yeah, really the main antagonist here in this volume is two giant waves. We spend a lot of chapters in the middle trying to get Luffy and Zoro safe from this big wave that's coming. And I've got a problem with this whole Zoro thing. Like, we see him land in the ocean in the previous volume, but now he's stuck headfirst down a chimney. So are you telling me he swam out of the ocean and then climbed up on the roof of a building and then slipped and fell headfirst into the... I don't know. Does not check out in my mind. Why would he climb up on a fucking roof? And how would he slip like that?
I mean, if the stepped on something wet, I mean, it could be just that simple. But yeah, I guess I thought that he had gotten like knocked out of the building and like landed that way very comically, or maybe...
Yeah, but we see him land in the water.
So I'm gonna guess. I mean, maybe it was a large wave that kind of got him stuck over there because
he says he slipped and fell in. Like he explains what happened. It's idiotic in my opinion. I really don't like that. I mean, Luffy getting smushed between buildings makes sense. We saw him do that earlier when he was trying to copy Kaku, so at least that was set up. But Zoro's thing is beyond idiotic.
I mean, the only time I've ever climbed on a roof was on a ladder in the summer heat to help do some roofing, but I think that it's established generally that the roofs get really slippery when they're wet.
Why would he even climb that building? What is he doing?
I'm guessing he had his swords going like jumping from roof to roof.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the anime, but I'm gonna get, and then maybe like land in like a whoa.
I don't think the anime shows it.
But it's goofy, but I fact check it. I think it seems logically sound.
The anime, which is so desperate for filler, it will adapt anything other than cover stories. Even they could not come up with a good excuse for Zoro ending up in the chimney, and they did not bother. They did not bother. But we'll move on. Really, this is very much streamlined with not a whole lot of analysis necessary. It's like, okay, we're all safe from the wave. Kokoro says, hey, it just so happens we have an experimental, like the proto-man of trains here, okay? And he's out of control, but it's our only way to chase him down. And we got a bunch of people on board. What are we missing, Aggie? Anything important in there?
No, I just think it's a good coincidence that the Rocket Man's flaw is that it can go too fast out of control. Anytime I have vehicle problems, it's more that it's breaking down and not going anywhere. So, if that was my problem, that all of a sudden I just drive too fast, I mean, I would probably prefer to have that problem with my vehicle, but it is what it is. It works out for the best.
We've got the Frankie family showing up, and they want to join Luffy's cause to help save Big Bro Frankie. So I like this plot of Water 7. All of these factions are warring with each other. Galley Law people, Frankie family, Straw Hats, and now they're all uniting to go up against the world government. Is this not Oda's lesson to us, as not as the reader, as the world? Is it not Oda's goal for us to realize through One Piece, hey, all these different factions of us people on the planet, we need to unite and stop fighting each other to take down the global elites? That's literally what the story is about. By the end of it, I think they're going to try to shut down One Piece for anti-Semitism, but it'll be too late because they weren't paying attention. They didn't know what it was about. And now it's a global phenomenon, baby. We won.
I mean, that world government that's trying to, rule over all the citizens and control all the money and everything, that could really be anybody. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I don't really see I think it could really be anybody. But to kind of dial it back a little bit from Rocket Man, I really enjoyed after Sanji's tagging along on the Puff and Tom, with the first guy that he meets is this guy, Jerry, who is he's on for whatever reason, he's just so extremely tall that he has to be like bent over with his back like to the ceiling in order to be able to even fit in the carriage. And so his fighting stance is he's like basically going into a pretzel twist. And I do like, it kind of reminds me before with I think Zoro and Sanji fighting some people in Alabasta, was it? But just once it's time for them to really just display their raw power, Sanji, I like how you just kind of have this build up with this strange character, and he just completely wipes the floor with everybody.
Beats him in one kick, after all that build up. The Frankie family has some king bulls named Sodom and Gomorrah, Aggie.
Yeah.
Now,
I do not know.
You're a theologian here. Can you explain this to me?
I mean, I guess I don't really know how it ties in, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie.
What were they in the Bible? Like people who have butt sex?
Well, they were cities, I believe, where people
the Sodomites.
They were too unrepentant. They said they wanted to just put each other's things in each other's behinds and just be clapping at each other all day. So God turned them into
So
pillars
was Sodom
of salt.
all gay guys and Gomorrah was all lesbians?
I think it was just it was just they were sinning and they were unrepentant. And I think that just the booty bandit angle was how it gets described. But they were probably killing each other and drugs and alcohol and all kinds of just.
So they're enemies of God, pretty much.
Well, for instance, sodomy, as we know it, it has been known as like you're basically putting your thing where it's not supposed to go.
A dirty place.
For pleasurable, hedonistic, non-reproductive purposes. So you're taking something that was bestowed to you by God, you're abusing it for your own pleasure in a way that is not to God's wishes, and therefore, so we could really go for anything. It could be, watching a lot of TikToks, you're just frying your brain by watching all this stuff. And
so what did Oda mean by this? Why are they joining Luffy's cause here?
Yeah, it's a very good question.
Is One Piece satanic all along?
I'm trying to make sense of it, and what I'm thinking is the Frankie family, they're ship dismantlers, but then they're taken from the pirates and all this, so that means that they probably should be good. Are these like their end time king bulls? Like they call them this because if they have to bust them out to do the massive extra number one goal, number one mission, that means it's going to be the end of time.
Did God destroy those cities? Were they all killed?
I think so. Well, the people were turned into pillars of salt for their sinful ways.
Don't look back. Don't look back. Okay, so is that our prediction? Sodom and Gomorrah will be turned into salt by a salt devil fruit at Enies Lobby.
I just knew when they got on there and they were tagging behind the Rocket Man ship or the Rocket Man train. I just keep on thinking of Elton John, who, no pun intended, with Sodom and Gomorrah. Anyway.
Wow,
and,
Sodom's bringing up the rear of Rocket Man.
That would be a real deep cut if that's how it is coming for this one. But
a cut or an injection, a penetration, perhaps. Oh my Lord, Oda, what were you thinking?
I just knew them getting dragged behind the Seatrain was not going to work out in their favor, so it was not a surprise to me that they end up getting pulled into the interior of the train instead. So, yeah. Hopefully the Bulls are okay. That's what I say every time I log on to Reddit.
Every time I come home from work, I hope the Bulls are doing okay. Also, a chimney and the little bunny cat sneak on. I enjoy them waving in the wind and going along for the trip to Auschwitz. And there's another line that made me laugh out loud. Kokoro says, "Hang on tight and your injuries will be minor." And Nami says, "So we're going to get injured no matter what?" 3 laugh out loud moments for me.
Yeah, I definitely felt Kokoro's concern for sure when she, she got a definite expression on her face when she notices that they've tagged along. Iceberg was supposed to be the babysitter. I just watched a great television show that everybody loves called Girls. And there's a woman named Jessa who she wants to go on this tangent. She's so smart, and she's lording over all these mothers at the playground about how she's such a genius, and the children that she's watching and babysitting just wander off in the meantime. This is definitely a good complimentary partner piece for this situation.
And I think that brings us to the end of the volume, because we already covered fighting wave number 2. And I mean that as a literal wave, while Sanji, I guess, is fighting waves of enemies on the ship, or on the train. The 3, Sanji, Frankie, and Usopp end up on the roof. And that's when we meet Sniper King after Usopp says, "Goodbye, I can't be with you, I'm leaving." Anything else from this volume you want to chat about, Aggie?
Well, we do get another little dose of Spandam in 365, and he's having a nice meal with a war elephant by his side named Funkfried. And listen, I'm a man who I love funk and I love being free. So, and obviously I'm inclined to be very friendly towards all animals. I might even have a psychic connection with some of them.
I don't think this is a spoiler, but I'll say if you enjoy the concept of lasso, you might like Funkfried even better.
I do not know what his power is, but, I'm all about first impressions, and him lording over a meal while being funky fresh is definitely a great start for sure. I guess I'll also say Kokoro, the whole time she's commanding the train, she's still drinking, so, that's also an appreciated little bit of...
I think train conductors should be allowed to drink, because it's on a track. It's not like they can steer into traffic and kill people. What do they really have to do? Is stop it when it gets to the place?
That's true, yeah. And if there's no brake line anyway, I mean, hey, might as well start
her
having
job's done.
Headed.
She got him on the track and got it going, and now it's... I think that's it, Egg. Do you have any predictions for what's coming up next?
Well, Mr. T-Bone, it's too bad that he's probably about to get T-boned because he seems like such a nice guy. But, he has to... He's going to have to face the might. And let me see here. How long do I think it's going to be before Rocket Man catches up with him? I mean, there's nothing really slowing down the Rocket Man train right now. The only thing is that they start a little bit more behind the Puff and Tom, but their unbridled acceleration... It's going to help. It would be interesting if something comes up that maybe it ends up colliding with the Puff and Tom and maybe they get knocked down. But I'm going to guess the Rocket Man ship is going to catch up with the Puff and Tom. I think probably they will end up, they're either going to board the train or I think the train is going to arrive with some of the people in the higher tier cars still being there, and maybe they're going to have some combat not on the waves themselves, like in the train. I think maybe the last bits of combat might be a little more stabilized at the entrance to Enies Lobby. And then we can also have expand him in the mix then. I think he's about deserving for another round of that kapow, a little whoop to the behind for, being this freak that's still so stuck on these grudges and his vengefulness from all these years ago. I think he needs a little bit of attitude adjustment. Yeah.
Should Frankie be the one to beat his ass again?
They certainly have unfinished business, and Frankie has not, other than the manhandling by CP9 to get him on the train. He hasn't really sustained any devastating injuries that I think would make him unable to be combative with Spondum moving forward here. But so that's gonna be my prediction for the next volume is there's gonna be some more combat prior to the arrival, but I think I keep saying ships. The trains are going to arrive, I think, at Enies Lobby. I think there's going to be some combat there as well, because I think if anything goes in front of these judges, it's all a rigged system. They're already in the pockets of the world government, and just like in real life, there's no real true justice unless it's at the end of your fist.
Hey, last I heard, judges are getting arrested lately for breaking the law.
Well, if only One Piece was as much of a utopia as our current real life.
So true, fam. And I think with that, we might have to leave you. Excited to see what Volume 39 has in store, Aggie. And I should probably just stop talking because I don't want to spoil any of the great content to come. I'm hyped for Sniper King. And I think that's about it. See you next time, folks. One Piece, people. We keep forgetting to say that.
One Piece.
People.
One love.
People.